All right, everybody. What is going on? This is Bad Publicity. You got Jameson, you got Miles, coast to coast. I guess continent to continent now. Um, Buddy, what's been going on? This is, we're sitting here. This is post Worlds. Everything good with
First one.
yourself?
Yeah, we've been waiting for this for a long time, waiting for getting Data and Destiny in there. So this is a huge one. If people have gone through on Reddit, this is a really, really long one. There was a lot to talk about. Yeah, it's looking good. I'm excited to have a bit of a chat about it. And congratulations to Dan, of course, for taking it out for another year. What a legend.
I know. Who would have thought repeat champ back to back?
I was still rooting for Timmy. Come on, man. Next year. It's Timmy's year.
That guy makes some good meta calls. His decks are very interesting, and it's always a little against the grain. Like
Yeah, yeah.
Wizard with the turntables, it's you can't give that to a regular player and expect the same results. You're putting a good deck in the hands of a good pilot.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you got people on forums trying to figure out what his NEH tech is, you know, like from the stream. So good. Anyway, let's get into it.
Yeah, man. So we're breaking down here post Worlds, the meta snapshot, where, and this is a Worlds where pretty much food, global food was dominant. HB that Friday night, let me tell you, buddy, we were on the ground and we saw a huge swing from everyone that had NEH to everybody trying to build HB decks the night before.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Not surprised.
So let's dig. Well, that's because of they realized everyone was running Val. So
Sure. Yeah.
as usual, you want to hit the tier explanation up first?
Yeah, sure. Let's just do a quick rundown of it. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Cool. All right. So tier one, we're just defining as the really super good, super optimized, efficient, consistent, the ones with a game plan that is going to happen more often than not. And it's really, really easy for them to lock that plan in. Even if you're not that experienced with the deck, you'll probably be able to pick it up and get quite a few wins in with it. Tier two is pretty good. Usually it's a bit easier to tech against, might be a bit more reliant on you playing them, or maybe they're just not quite as strong in the current metagame. And tier three are the rest, kind of. So once you can still, I mean, it's Netrunner, so player skill's a factor. You can take these to a tournament, you can still do pretty well with them, but you're going to have a much tougher time. And most people sort of homebrews are going to fall into around that tier three zone.
Right. So let's take a look at what is breaking tier one this time. As we said, we got the food codes deck here. You guys, I'll put the link in the description. We're not going to go so in depth this time, breaking down every little thing, because some of these decks are gonna sit at a certain tier for a little bit. So there's no sense repeating, said decks. But a big one that we hinted at the beginning is the food codes deck, and that's pretty much cracked tier one now, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's really, it's around, it's just huge at the moment. Maybe the best deck there is, could very well be. Certainly the best deck for Worlds.
Anything that stood out there, like we've seen HB do Glacier before. So
Yeah,
it's nothing
it's the
new,
most
but
vanilla thing there is. It's like the first thing that you get when you crack the core set. You're like, oh, I'll make a big server with lots of money, But that's what it is. It's just really consistent at making a ton of money. It's got really strong protection upgrades with Ash and Caprice. Cheering is a huge deal for this. I think just the fact that you have 3 Cheering, 3 Itchy, 3 Architect, 3 Eli, just straight off the bat, that's really, really strong against your Noise and your Kate.
yeah, and that was also a really good meta call. Like I said, this deck kind of sprung out of on a Friday night of people trying to figure out how to beat DLR Valencia, and with DLR Valencia using AI as a lot of these ones as their only ones. 3 touring was so you could be able to see 2 of them early enough or quick enough, and they were putting them over HQ, stopping HQ access. Really cool play. and of course you have Global Food Initiative, the Data and Destiny agenda that came out a few days before Worlds, adding so much bang for the buck
Yeah, it's amazing
in
how
this
much
deck.
impact that one has just by giving you that little bit extra agenda density that the runner can't deal with. Yeah, big deal.
It's interesting to see, like, what's your thoughts on engineering the future sticking around? Like, here's a core set identity that is not going to be cycled out and is still strong this day. I don't know how. What's the game? 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, and as long as it's around, it's probably the single most powerful ID ability in the game. Credits win games, and if you're just getting that one extra credit every single turn, that's a really big economic advantage. We don't need to prove anything about ETF at this point. I think it's the only problem with it is it's sort of that you don't. If you're going to play another ID in HB, you better a really good reason to be doing it.
Hey, you know what though? I think that sums it up so perfectly because this ID is doing so much work for you. It did so much work for you, still is, and it's not going anywhere. It's so dominant.
Yeah, credits win games.
No doubt, man. Obviously, across the bottom, filling out this tier, we got the Astrobiotics still sitting in the tier.
Not much to say, really.
Yeah, Astro does what Astro does, and
Yep.
when you put the rest of the pieces there, it's going to win you games just based on the speed that it can compete with. If the runner hits a
Yep.
speed bump and can't get set up in time, you're off to the races and boom, boom, boom. And that
Yep.
goes, I believe, for the variants like the NEH sponsorship ones, the Turtlebacks, basic near Earth hub.
In Butcher Shop.
Yeah, yeah, that was around for the like store champs regional stuff, right? An interesting one that is sitting here is the convenience shop now.
Sure.
Uh, I,
Well,
I,
people don't know about this one. Let's talk about Convenience Shop and why it's amazing. Okay, so for Worlds, people were saying that it didn't do that well at Worlds and therefore it's not tier one. Basically, that was sort of the gist of a lot of the controversy or conversation on Reddit. Look, it's just so good. The reason it didn't do well at Worlds is because Dan was hyping it up like crazy, so everyone put two Plascretes in to deal with it. And everyone was like, well, I'm putting two Plascretes in my runner deck. I'm not going to play Convenience Shop. And then, it just sort of happened like that. But the deck itself is just ludicrously powerful.
oh,
Because,
I 100% agree. This is a style of deck that I was running down there, and it can murder people.
oh man, that 24/7, it's just hey, you're dead.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
right. Like it comes out of nowhere. Now, there is discrepancy. I know on the Reddits and some of the comments we had saying no, this doesn't, like you said, this doesn't deserve to be a tier one deck. But the problem is people went to Worlds running so much protection that
Yeah.
even the night before people were upping to three Plascretes. Then there was
Yeah.
so much different ways to prevent meat damage, and most of them were there. A lot of people were running that Val DLR deck, and once paparazzi hits the table with all the wireless nets and stuff like that, yeah, you got a problem. But what's good about this deck is that it does have, it's not your first win condition, but it does have the ability to score.
Yes.
You can score out here. You can bomb out those one pointers, no problems. It's also got the Astro scripts that you can start putting together. So two win conditions that one is obviously outweighs the other, but the second win condition of just scoring agendas is still there. This deck
Yeah.
is still going to be tier one.
Yeah, powerhouse. I might even say as well, just the list that I've linked here doesn't have Sansan in it, and I'll say that I think the strongest lists do have Sansan in them. Two Sansan City Grid, and probably three of the Quantum Predictive model, which is great, and what's the other one? Yeah, well, that's it. If you have Sansan, I think it becomes stronger. Oh, and a lot of them are starting to run Profiteering now as well.
I think our video got bumped off. I think you might have to click your video on at the bottom there.
You right now?
It Skype stopped.
Ooh, we had a thing. Oh, okay.
It's loading up. It'll come back. Yeah, you know what? I think that's give and take. I'm not sure. I haven't tried too much with the Sands in there. Um,
Makes it better, man.
um,
It does, for real. Because you can score easier and you can do breaking news shenanigans easier. I've started putting profiteering in too. That does work, let me tell you.
really?
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we can definitely vouch for this being a tier one deck at the moment. It murdered the field in the side games as that's the Stim Hack Invitational. Um,
Mm,
you can see the list that's posted up there. That's what this one was taken from, and Harpsichord's ability to just go do a slow and steady agenda steal. Obviously, Film Critic can do work, but truth be told, a lot of people
yeah.
aren't so sold on Film Critic. It didn't make the cut in some of the Kate decks, but I mean, it will give you trouble, but it's nothing to 100% worry about.
You kind of need film critic and plastic though. That's the thing, you know.
Yeah, and that's the looking at a lot of top tier decks that made it did there was a couple that did have both.
Yeah, I think you have to. All right, I want to roll on. Roll on. Let's see. So tier two, there's not a ton to talk about. Wayland is sad in general. We know this. There's lots of discussion about Wayland being sad. Um,
There
sorry.
was
Yep.
there was as much as people said before how bad Wayland is, there was a lot of people running Arguses and
Yeah.
doing kind of you know well with it, surprisingly
Yeah.
enough.
I don't know, man. I don't rate August that high, but whatever. That's, if yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Better than
um,
people.
an interesting deck that came out is Chris Hinkey's Industrial Graveyard. This is an interesting one, and he did 40th with IG. I mean,
Mm,
I think that's nothing to shake a stick at. This guy is a really good deck builder. Worlds showed us three of his decks. He pulled an Apex deck out that
yes.
Elad piloted during King of Servers. Um,
Yeah.
he had his IG deck, and he also had a Spark deck that,
Yes.
if you look, is should be linked on the front page of Netrunner DB. Great mind, very interesting build. So, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts here?
Um, this isn't really my area of, I don't know, expertise in Netrunner. I guess it's not the kind of thing I usually run, but he does really well with it. I've seen quite a lot of people do well with this style. I guess you jump a lot of stuff into archives, and you have sealed vault to protect against Siphon, which is an interesting little call. Only 4 pieces of ice. I don't really know that much to say about this, honestly. It's not. I don't know how to pilot this deck at all. I've bet a lot of people have done well with it.
A buddy of ours, who will be, joining the Bad Publicity team as well. He's from the UK. You got Vinegary Mink here. Uh,
Hey,
he's sitting in the chat, and he does agree that the profiteering version is also better
cool.
for that last one. Man, we should have had him join here, but I thought it would have been
Yeah.
too late for
Exactly.
him. Um,
Yeah.
so
It's,
definitely look for Alex. He'll be joining the team soon enough, and we're gonna
I
swing
thought he
him.
was going to win, actually.
Yeah.
He was my pick before Worlds. I was like, yeah, he's going to win. He's going to take it. But anyway.
Uh,
And one more thing is, if you've read the article, because I put this up earlier in the week, I've dropped PE down from tier 2 to tier 3, and that's because everyone in the world is now playing DLR decks, and PE gets absolutely stomped by DLR decks.
mm,
Yeah,
and I think that's the right call there as
yeah.
well.
Cool. All right. Runner time?
Yeah. Do you anything else from the tier three here?
No. They're decks. They're not as good as the other decks. Let's move on.
All right. So going into the runner side of things, um, it's interesting to see that you don't have a tier above one to put in
Yeah.
DLR Val because
Well, I don't think it is.
this
I
deck is
really don't
just
think it. If anything, I think the min version is stronger. But we'll go into detail on that in a second. If you look at Dan's record, he said that his HP deck carried him more than his Val deck did.
Yeah, I mean it does take a little to set up. You know, we got the link here. It's you know, Dargenio's championship one here, and this is pretty straightforward. It's using Faust as the breaker, turntable. If you've seen DLR decks with Val, there's nothing really new here. Drug dealers, fall guys, the wireless net pavilion. This is the list that everybody was running. Dan did tweak this list, I believe, adding the 3 scrubbers. So
great call.
Yeah, hell of a call.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's good. You threaten remotes with blackmail. You get set up. This deck is so much harder to pile than it looks. Honestly, people look at it and they go, "Oh, you just put DLR down and then you just spam DLR." It's not. You got to. There's so much to do.
Going across, prepaid Kate's pretty much stayed the same. Very, very typical builds for these now, and still reliable. Oh, yeah. The Faust noise, nothing to say there.
It's not actually, because like we talked about last time, how noise has shaped the metagame so much, this deck, and it's gotten to the point where, you know, everyone is so teched up against noise now, you know? Like what we were saying with the 3 Turing, everyone's got the, you know, Turing, Cyberdex. I mean, people are splashing Turing now, you know? So it's in a weird spot. I still think it's inherently really, really powerful, but don't know, we'll see.
The Wizard build is up there. You know, it's not the Timmy Wong adjustment, but it's still where it needs to be. The min-max.
I want to talk about this, actually.
Roll, the floor is yours, man.
Right. So, this deck is a masterpiece, in my opinion. It's incredible. Have you played this?
No, I have not.
It's insane. It is so powerful. So, this is basically the Anatomy of Anarchy thing, you know, from sort of 2013 or early 2014.
Yeah, I saw him talk about it when we were down there at Worlds.
Yeah, and he's made the excellent point that in Anatomy of Anarchy, or not Anatomy of Anarchy, in Eater Max, the classic one with Keyhole, you have to pay to break ice with Keyhole, like a sucker. With this one, you just pound on DLR, and it's really powerful, this deck. Really, really strong. And I think it may be stronger than the Val thing, because Val, you're pretty much just doing it with blackmail and to block All-Seeing Eye, right? Pretty much that's the reason to play Val. This is, I reckon this is probably a little bit harder to pilot, but I think it might actually be more powerful.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting to see. This is, you know, 2 years in a row he's come to Worlds with a great take on a classic build.
Yeah, and he went undefeated with this at Worlds.
Yeah, this last year his Corporation was the one that took him to the end, and this year his Runner really went strong. If he ever gets both sides to click at the same time, this guy is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and will be at the top tables. He didn't get a chance to play it during a limbs. Alex is right there. He lost twice with Corp in the top 16, so it was a hard break for him. But
this deck is really insane. You should try it. Like, I've been playing with it, and I've only lost 1 game so far in my testing, and even that was to a really stupid misplay, basically. So it's so strong. Keep an eye out for it.
You heard it here.
You heard it. Yeah, this is my pick. Honestly, it's so good. Anyway,
going through tier 2s, what do you see here?
Sure. Tier 2, we are looking at a lot of aggro kind of stuff, really aggressive decks. Eater Max is, I think, making a bit of a comeback as well. The classic Eater Max. We've seen Apocalypse being added into that. Really cool little addition to just wipe the board, smash the whole thing down. The Faust and Parasite Gabe, I think, is really quite strong in this current metagame. Not that many people are playing it, and its weakness is still the criminal thing where you are not really prepared for program trashing.
I you know, what makes me second take, and I do believe in the right hands, it's very, very dangerous. You look at what Dave does with his Leelas. Again, brought it to World, and you know, pretty much tasted victory, and then
Yeah,
had it slipped away ever so dramatically in an amazing game there.
yeah.
But Leela just seems like the criminal that can just do work, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Lily is really good. I still think that it's more Dave than anything else that got that deck up there. But it's still strong. It's very powerful. And
yeah,
it's kind of classic. Like you look at the list and it's up to all that remains or something. So a cycle ago.
yeah, it's very, very powerful. Her ability. You lose a little of the consistency that Andy has, but that's the trade-off there, right?
Yeah.
The Eater Max with Apocalypse. I did see some people popping Apocalypse down. It was during this icebreaker tournament. Um, just a good call there.
Yeah, it's good. It's a nice slot.
What else? Anything sitting here with these tier twos?
Sure. Look, couple of changes. I put what I'm calling Hinky's kit, so his Vamp Opus kit in there because that's really he's been playing that for like over a year now and doing a lot of work with it. So I think that's a good strong deck. I've actually put this might be a bit wide. The Notorious BAG. Have you seen this one?
Oh,
Have you seen that?
is this a bag biter?
Yeah, it's the Bag Biter Faust Notoriety deck with Hyperdrive. It's pretty good as it turns out. It looks dumb, but it actually works. And Solidarity, which is the Nasir build, Elad's build.
Hmm.
And I think this is a bit of a dark horse just because it's got a pretty good Glacier matchup, this kind of thing.
Yeah,
And there's
I
more
think some of
sets.
that's going to go down to the pilot as well. Elad's been rocking this year since he came out, and he's tweaked this list, and he could probably play this blindfolded now. But he did update it. You have the link running up to date and Destiny cards,
And throw it up.
but he did not pilot this. I don't believe.
He did not know. He did Lila, I
Yes,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But
that was a little Dave that swayed him one way or another there. Um,
Yeah, I think this deck is. I think it's pretty strong. I think if people give it a shot, I think it could turn out to be stronger than people give it credit for.
Again, I just want to point out another, like you said, Chris, Hinky's builds. This guy's, probably one of the top deck building
Oh,
minds in the game right now. Just what he's coming up with.
yeah, no,
Really awesome to see Kit being played
yeah,
at such a high level tournament.
yeah, absolutely, it's great.
Bottom tier, I don't
Yeah.
think a lot is changing here from last
Oh,
time.
but I've put in that Haley Pawn Shop build that was sort of up on Netrunner DB because
Mm.
that's kind of okay against slow decks, but it gets just stomped on by fast decks. Um, yeah, not much different there.
So that pretty much takes us right from the top to bottom of the power rankings here. Anything you expect to see? Anything that people should keep a lookout for that's on the fringe of popping into these tiers?
Yes, I think we should keep an eye out for Sunny because that sort of straight up Sunny deck where it's just you have your Drip Econ, you have your Breakers, money. It's not exciting, but it seems okay, and I think there's potential there. It's slow, but if it's a really Glacier heavy game, sort of meta game, I think that's got a lot of potential. There are sync decks, so the psychographics thing, and they're pretty interesting actually. So they could have a place. So even Dan said this: if you have tag punishment that's not kill, like psychographics or quantum predictive model resistor stuff like that, that's quite strong against the DLR decks. Okay, so that's got potential, and also because you can have Global Food Initiative, Quantum Predictive Model, 15 minutes, you can have 6 of the 18 agenda points in your deck be kind of worthless to the run. And that's quite powerful.
What about? I know you touched on Sunny there. Thoughts on the other two? Any
Yeah.
Atom or Apex? Should people really be pushing these ones? Is there hope there?
Adams, I think Adams all right. I think I mean you can put Drug Dealer and Faust into decks and it's just good. So like
That's the recipe on how to make something better. Is
yeah,
just
and then
drop
you put
those in.
stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Adam's got potential. I think Apex is. I don't know, man. Apex seems kind of like a disaster area to me. You probably get a few games off. Like we've got that Hyperdrive or Apex build in there. I've been trying it out a bit. It's just I don't know. I don't understand it. It's if you get the apocalypses off, you can probably do really well. But I don't really know what to do with Apex in general. Oh, and I believe the winning agenda guys were repping like 3 account siphon 3 DDoS build or something like that. So you just go hyper aggressive, you just go absolutely insane in the early game, and just you don't have a plan for if the core stabilizes, basically.
Perfect. Well, I mean that's something to try and think of for people that are deck building out there to try and push their decks into the top tier less.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks a bunch again for crunching these numbers. I really appreciate everybody out there that has tuned in.
Yeah.
Miles, any last words there?
Yeah, if you want to help me make this better, post more decks. If you win stuff, put it up, because the more I've got to work with, the better we can make this.
That's true.
Yeah.
Keep posting out there, guys. Keep putting it out there, and keep it on the main sites, and he'll find it. And
that's it.
Jot it down and tabulate it.
Yeah, that's it. It'll go in the list.
All right. Thanks again, guys. Short and sweet. That's the power rankings for November. Lay it up.
Oh, yeah.